learn the Rebbe's blessing that he gave before Yom Kippur, and it's a very powerful message for us this time. And I'm going to try to paraphrase from the Rebbe's words. This blessing that we're going to learn was given in a year that's similar to this one, where Rosh Hashanah fell out on Shabbos, and that was a recurring theme in the Rebbe's farbrengens and letters about this, and let's go right to it. This blessing was said in the Rebbe gave us several blessings before Yom Kippur. One blessing to all the yeshiva students, and one blessing to all the Jewish people. So it says in chassidus that the service of Hashem during these 10 days of tshuva is the higher kind of tshuva. There's two kinds of tshuva. There's tshuva about regretting the past, and there's tshuva and resolving for the future. And there's a higher kind of tshuva of bonding with Hashem with love and happiness. That's a higher kind of tshuva. Since Yom Kippur is the conclusion of the 10 days of tshuva, so Yom Kippur, among the 10 days of tshuva, is called the time of tshuva. Therefore, Yom Kippur has the perfection of the highest level of tshuva. It's higher than the kind of tshuva that's done throughout the 10 days of tshuva, including Rosh Hashanah. As the Torah says, on this day you will be forgiven, this day you will be cleansed. It doesn't say who will do it. Why doesn't it say who will do it? Because it comes from Hashem himself, beyond the names of Hashem. As the Torah says, Lifnei Hashem, before Hashem you'll be purified. It doesn't just mean in front of Hashem, it means higher than Hashem's name. The purity that we experience in Yom Kippur is from Hashem himself, beyond any kind of expression of Hashem's light, beyond the name of Hashem. So this service of Hashem is also what we've been meant to be doing from the beginning of Elul. As Elul is characterized by its acronym, Anila Dodi V'Dodi Li, I come to my beloved is close to me, with love. So the service of Hashem with love is a higher level of tshuva. So the Torah says you're always supposed to ascend in holy matters. So after we've already blessed the month of Elul, and we blessed the month of Elul with all the 6 blessings that we do before every new month. So throughout the month of Elul, we've been ascending every day, continuing adding more and more light, because there's no limit to how many, in Tshuva itself there are infinite amount of levels. So that's just in the blessing before the month of Elul. How much more so in the month of Elul and after the 18th of Elul, and how much more so in the days of Slichos. And this year we had 2 Shabbosim this year, besides the fact that we had the blessing of the ascending of Tshuva every day of the month of Elul, we had the special blessing of the Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah, the Shabbos of Slichos, which God blesses. As the Baal Shem Tov taught, and the Alter Rebbe gave this over, and the Alter Rebbe gave this over to the Middle Rebbe, and the Tzemach Tzedek, and the Rebbe Marash, and the Rebbe Rashab, until the Rebbe's father-in-law, the previous Rebbe, who publicized this to all the generation, that Hashem himself blesses this month. So, therefore, there's a special power. How much more so after the tshuva, not only of Elul, the tshuva that was done in Rosh Hashanah, and especially this year, where Hashanah falls out on Shabbos. Shabbos in general is about the high level of tshuva. The word Shabbos has the same letters as the word Tashiv, which means to return to Hashem, and Shabbos is about the higher level of tshuva. So it comes out that the lower level of tshuva has certainly been done already in the perfect way, especially considering all the things that happened in across the ocean, Rebbe says, meaning during the Holocaust. And we shouldn't talk about it now. Things that happened, and many people, many holy tzaddikim, pure people, pure Jews, may Hashem avenge their blood, were killed. How much? So it's certain, because of all the pain that was experienced, that our service of Hashem is a higher level of tshuva. Because of it, we've been cleansed already by all the suffering. So how much more so after we've done tshuva throughout Elul and the Rosh Hashanah and the 10 days of tshuva. So it's understood that when the day before Yom Kippur comes, we're already at a very lofty level in the higher level of tshuva, higher than all the times before this. What this means practically is this. What is tshuva law? What's a high level of tshuva mean? A high level of tshuva means to bond with Hashem, become one with Hashem. The Jewish people and Hashem are one. And when do you see an expression of the oneness of the Jewish people and Hashem? You see this once a year on Yom Kippur. On Yom Kippur, Hashem empowers us to connect with Him with Yechidah, with the deepest level of the soul, and to be united with Hashem beyond all kinds of limitations. And therefore, because we're serving Hashem with a high level of tshuva, it's categorized with great joy, which is about our union and our bonding with Hashem Himself. This is achieved especially, this union with Hashem is achieved especially through the study of Torah. It says about, and Torah study is supposed to be done with joy. As it says in the Torah, Pekudi Hashem Yishram Samchlei, the mitzvahs of Hashem are just, they make the heart happy. And this is associated with Yom Kippur too, because on Yom Kippur Hashem gave us the second tablets. And Hashem told us, when He gave us second tablets, I forgive you completely, with a full heart. As we will say before we daven Ma'ariv tonight, Hashem says, I forgive you completely. So the service of Hashem at this time, the higher level of tshuva through the study of Torah, is with great joy. And since we are now, in our generation in general, especially at this time, at the highest level of tshuva, now there's a time when Hashem reveals the bond the Jewish people and Hashem, how they are one. So it's understood that God gives every single Jew all they need, both materially and spiritually, because since Hashem wants us to serve Him with great joy, He empowers us to serve Him with great joy by having great joy from all things that all things that are a part of our life, both material things and spiritual things, both things regarding ourselves, both things regarding our impact on others. Since Hashem is asking us to serve Him with great joy, good morning, Chaim Peretz, Yantiv. Since Hashem is empowering us to serve Him with great joy, so He must give every single Jew all that they need, both materially and spiritually, in order to empower them to serve Him with great joy. And Hashem is asking us to go from strength to strength, from both young and old, sons and daughters, to continue to go higher and higher. Especially, this blessing is given to all the Jewish people, considering the fact that every Jew participated, or Shoshana, and fulfilling God's request to coronate Him as a king. As Hashem says in the Gemara, recite before me the blessings of Malchus, Achenis, Shefres, and blow the shofar. But since all the Jewish people fulfill this, certainly they are deserving of all these great blessings, especially the main blessing, which is that we should hear the great shofar and the true Pikulu through Mashiach immediately. And when Mashiach comes, there will be the perfect revelation of how the Jewish people and Hashem are one in this world, alive as souls and bodies. And this is achieved especially by preparing for Yom Kippur, because Yom Kippur is compared to, this is especially relevant now, the day before Yom Kippur, because Yom Kippur is a day which is similar to the time of the coming of Mashiach. Yom Kippur is called a day of double Shabbos. And double Shabbos means it's like the day when Mashiach will come, or like the time when Mashiach will come, that will always be like Shabbos. So now, as we're the day before Yom Kippur, it's very sweet, the time of the coming of Mashiach, the time of Shabbos. So this idea that the tshuva we're supposed to be doing now is with great joy, and how God gives the Jewish people all that they need, with not just spiritual things, but also physical things, it seems to contradict the idea of fasting in Yom Kippur, which seems about painting the body. So the Rebbe says it's not a contradiction. Although Yom Kippur is a day of fasting, which pains the body, and although the higher level of tshuva seems to be above the body, so why is this relevant to Hashem giving us all of our needs? So Rebbe says you have to understand a little bit more about what the higher level of tshuva. To understand why the high level of tshuva is possible, to be connected to Hashem, satisfying all of the things that are part of our life, our material and spiritual needs, and to understand why it's possible even on Yom Kippur when we fast, you have to know a little bit more about the higher level of tshuva. The higher level of tshuva expresses the connection of the Jewish people and Hashem, which is beyond all limitations, beyond all parameters, both material parameters, spiritual parameters, and therefore it permeates all parameters of our life. Because it has no bounds, because the bond of Hashem and the Jewish people has no limitations, therefore it expresses itself in everything in our life, because it has no limitations. On the contrary, not only does it express itself also in the physical, but especially in the physical. And we see this in the fast on Yom Kippur. There was one year, there was a guy who asked the Rebbe if you should fast on Yom Kippur, because the doctors were telling you you shouldn't fast. The Rebbe told me you should fast anyways. And the Rebbe said, "L'achiyesem barav," the fast itself will give you life. As the Torah says, you will be given life in hunger. So in that, echoing that theme, the Rebbe says in this blessing, that chassidus explains what's the meaning of those words. God gives you life through hunger. It means this, that the soul gets energy from the fasting in Yom Kippur. Just like in the world to come, there's no eating and drinking, and so too the neshama gets energy from the fast itself. And there's a additional power of the soul's bond with the body by fasting. So not only does a fasting in Yom Kippur not diminish the energy in the body, there is energy in the body then too. The body's animated. But the animation of the body is not from eating and drinking. The animation on the body is from the hunger itself. So it's actually very connected to the medical understanding of how the body is animated in the time of a fast. But first, let's understand something about the coming Mashiach. It says Mashiach will come, unlike now where the soul is the guide to the body, and the soul is meant to refine and purify the body. Mashiach comes, it says Hashem will reveal the true source of the body, and the body has a higher source than the neshama, than the soul, and the body will animate the soul. That's what happens. Mashiach will come. So in a similar way, medically, in general, a person gets energy from eating. The food that he eats becomes part of his blood. It animates him. When he's fasting, where's he getting energy from? He's getting energy from the blood and energy that's already in his body. That was there before. He already ate things before. They became part of his body. These things he has eaten, they're no longer in the realm of, let's say he ate from the animal kingdom or from the inanimate. Whatever he ate is now, or from the vegetation, whatever he ate, it's now no longer in the realm of those various kingdoms. It's now part of the human kingdoms, or in our situation, especially we're talking about the Jew, whose main energy is from this neshama. So when getting energy from your body is something that happens on every fast day, because you're getting energy from the. Just like Mashiach comes, it says that our body will animate the soul. So too on a fast day, the body itself is already has a sustenance from what you ate before. It's part of you, part of you as a human being. That's what's sustaining you in the fasting. So on Yom Kippur, where the service of Hashem is with a higher level of tshuva. This high level of tshuva permeates the entire person, both his material matters and his spiritual matters, and it's especially emphasized, especially expressed in the physical parts of his life, because you could see, as he's a soul in the body, you could look at him, you can point at him with your finger, and you could see how the soul is getting sustenance from the body. So the higher level of tshuva is not a contradiction to fasting. On the contrary, that's an expression of the high level of tshuva. How the body itself how the neshama is getting energy from the body. It's a sign. It's emblematic of what will happen when Mashiach will come. So a similar thing happens also the day before Yom Kippur, which is a preparation for Yom Kippur. The day before Yom Kippur, the Gemara says anyone who eats and drinks on the 9th day of Tishrei, the Torah considers it ma'ila of akasu. The Torah considers it as if you fasted on the 9th and the 10th day of Tishrei. By eating, it's considered Okay, so the Gemara says that by eating and drinking on the day before Yom Kippur, it's considered as if you fast the day before Yom Kippur. So we have the virtue of two things. We have the virtue of eating, which is considered also a service of Hashem, as Hashem tells us to do on the day before Yom Kippur, and it's considered as if you fasted. So it's achieved. We achieve this higher level of sustenance in the body through the food that we eat on the day before Yom Kippur. And this is alluded to by the Gemara's words. Hashem considers it, the Torah considers it as if you fasted. The words the Gemara uses are Ma'ila Lavakasa, which literally can be translated as the verse lifts you. It's not just Torah considers it, it's that the verse lifts you. There is the service of Hashem on the 10th day of Tishrei, when you're actually fasting. So the day itself gives you this power. On the 9th day of Tishrei, it's by the eating and drinking itself that Hashem lifts you by your eating and drinking to be considered to be in this lofty level that you cannot reach by yourself, that you have the advantage of fasting both days. So according to this understood, that on Erev Yom Kippur, on Yom Kippur, we see openly, still at 8, we see openly in Yom Kippur the virtue of the higher level of tshuva, and we see the practical results of this. That a Jew receives all of his material and spiritual needs in order he should be have tremendous joy, and the main blessing is that we should see the coming of Mashiach when we'll see a perfection of everything in the world in this physical world. And this is especially achieved by the Jewish people doing what they're supposed to do on the 9th and 10th day of Tishrei, by eating. As the Gemara says, it says you're supposed to eat, Pri Chaim says you're supposed to eat on the day before Yom Kippur as much as you would eat in 2 days. So the Rebbe said certainly some people have done this already, at least they had the first meal, and for sure they'll continue the second meal, those who haven't done this. And by doing this, they fulfill these words of the Gemara, that it's considered like they fasted for 2 days. And through this we merit that they're already on the 9th day of Tishrei, before Yom Kippur, when there is already some of the revelation of Yom Kippur already starts, and the day before Yom Kippur, we should already have the coming of the Trum Kupik practically, and we should see openly in a vivid way how the soul is animated by the body. So the number 9 indicates, it hints to our service of Hashem during the time of the exile. As there were 9, for example, there were 9 cows, 9 red heifers that were used until Mashiach will come, when Mashiach will bring the 10th red heifer to purify the Jewish people. So the idea of the red heifer is about tshuva, and which is the theme of Yom Kippur. So it says that before Mashiach comes, there are 9 songs, and there were 9 red heifers. But the coming Mashiach is categorized by the number 10. Mashiach comes, will be the 10th red heifer, and it'll be the 10th song. And all the number 10 in general, the Gemara says, associated with holiness. That's the coming Mashiach. So just like the number 9 represents the service of Hashem nowadays, and Yom Kippur represents the service of Hashem when Mashiach will come, so the service of Hashem now before Yom Kippur brings us to Yom Kippur, just like the day before Yom Kippur brings us to Yom Kippur, so too the time of number 9, time of the exile, brings us to the time of coming Mashiach. So, in other words, the connection between the day before Yom Kippur and Yom Kippur is similar to the connection between the number 9 and number 10, which is the theme of serving Hashem now to prepare for the coming Mashiach. As the Gemara says that the Gemara says that when Hashem gives us the mitzvah, the red heifer, the Torah uses 4 different expressions. The red heifer has to be whole, has to be red, can have a yoke on it, and the Gemara explains the four titles, 4 descriptions of the red heifer correspond to the 4 exiles, which brought us to the 4 redemptions, and this brings us to the 5th redemption through Mashiach, who the number 5 again is associated with Yom Kippur, which because Yom Kippur is the day where we have 5 prayers, which is associated with the deepest level of Neshama Yechidah. So it's understood even more that as we are on the 9th day of Tishrei, when we have the ashes of the 9 red heifers, we have all the efforts of the Jewish people throughout history. So this is what brings Mashiach. So on already the 9th day of Tishrei, we could already have the coming Mashiach. And then the Rebbe concludes, just want to add one more point. The Rebbe says is this: it's a customary day before Yom Kippur to give out sweet honey cake, lekach. And by giving out the lekach, this adds sweetness, that adds blessings from Hashem for a good and sweet year, material and spiritually. This lekach, this honey cake we give out, is connected to the higher level of tshuva. Because what's the higher level of tshuva again? The higher level of tshuva is bonding with Hashem with love. What does lekach mean? Lekach in general refers to Torah, as it says in the pasuk, lekach teivas lechem. But lekach also means that God's giving us something. When you give out lekach on Yom Kippur, before Yom Kippur, it's not that you're giving it out. You're an emissary of Hashem. Hashem is giving out lekach. You're just an emissary of God to give out the honey cake. The word lekach, Rebbe says, has the same letters as the word chelik. Chelik is referring to part of the neshama, which is in the body, the part of Hashem, which is in the body, the soul. So the idea of giving out lekach is also connected to how every Jew has a part of Hashem inside them. Lekach means a part of Hashem. Lekach means a chelik. The word lekach means chelik, a part of Hashem. So Hashem gives every Jew a part of himself, and he gives it to them in a way, as the Gemara says, that when you inherit someone, halacha says you're considered as if you are the one who bequeathed the inheritance. So too, because every Jew has a part of Hashem in them, they're considered exactly identical to Hashem himself. As Baal Shem Tov famously said, that every single Jew is precious to Hashem like an only child, who is born to parents in their old age, and even more. So even if a Jew is part of a family with many children, many boys and girls, regarding how he is vis-a-vis Hashem, every Jewish man and woman is considered an only child to Hashem himself. And Hashem himself gives every Jew lekach toiv. Hashem gives him a part of himself, a part of Hashem's essence. And a part of Hashem's essence is really Hashem himself, because you can't divide the essence. So Hashem gives every Jew, so to speak, his whole being. May it be Hashem's will at giving out the lekach and giving out tzedakah, as Rebbe was going to do right after this talk, should add even more in the tzedakah that God will give gives to every Jew, to gather every single Jew one by one, and all Jewish people should go in a sweet way together with Hashem himself and leave the exile and go to the true and complete geula. This all happens in a way, as we read in this Torah, in the chassidus of today. This is the blessing that Moshe gives us, that we should be able to point with our finger and say, this is Moshe Rabbeinu. He is our first Redeemer. He is our last Redeemer. He is called, Moshe Rabbeinu is also called by the name Mashiach, and even though Mashiach is from the tribe of Yehuda, but Moshe Rabbeinu is the one who empowers the coming of Mashiach. So when Mashiach comes, we'll be able to point at Moshe Rabbeinu and say, this is Moshe Rabbeinu. All this should happen immediately in the 9th of Tishrei, and immediately will come after the 9th of Tishrei to the 10th of Tishrei, where you have Geula here in the 9th of Tishrei. As we say at the end of Yom Kippur, next year in Jerusalem. And as the previous Rebbe explained, it's not we need to wait for Mashiach to come next year, but Mashiach should come immediately, and automatically next year we'll go straight to, in a glat and we'll go in a very smooth way immediately to the coming of Mashiach, in a pleasant way, in a good way, and automatically by next year already be in Yerushalayim with the third Beis Hamikdash. And there we'll offer sacrifices to Hashem in Chag Pesach, the time of our freedom, the perfect way, committed to Nacha, and much more so, in Yom Kippur, will already be in Yerushalayim. But Eid V'Ikar, the Geula shall come now, take from Mamish immediately. L'chaim, l'chaim, l'rach.
Amen, amen, amen.
L'chaim, l'chaim. Marsi Mateva, we should see it happen today. L'chaim.
Amen. Same to you, Rabbi. All the best.